Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are watching the Monday, January 31st edition of the Engine Room podcast brought to you by tokenmetrics.com. We're going to do what we do 3 times a week right here for you again. We're going to talk about what's going on in the crypto news cycle. But before we get into that, just want to quickly plug some of the other interesting stuff that's going on when it comes to token metrics and these videos or audio that you might be listening to. We've got a number of other analysts on our little network here who are offering just about daily commentary on how you can make money in crypto. In particular, I know that I wouldn't mind plugging an upcoming interview show guest on the Crypto Hot Seat show that comes out every Sunday. This coming Sunday, we've got Paul Budnitz, who runs a creative arts and NFT-based studio called Super Plastic. Had a very interesting conversation with him that you can check out on Sunday. But in terms of what's just recently gone live, be sure to check out my interview with the founder and important person, let's call her, of Blockbuster DAO, the daughter of the former Blockbuster CEO. So that's live right now. Y'all can check that out. But in the meantime, we've got Jacob and Steven here. It's time to dig into some news. So gentlemen, hello. Happy days to you. Good Monday.
Hello, Dylan.
Let's talk first about this House bill. We've got 2 different pieces of legislation to talk about today, and one I think is a little more interesting than the other for crypto. Let's talk about the one that's potentially negative for crypto. There's a new House bill. More specifically, it's a provision in an existing bill called the America Competes Act. And that provision would theoretically give the Treasury Secretary the power to block U.S. companies from interacting with international crypto transactions. So when I first read this news, it seemed like quite an overreach. We're talking about something that would have to happen at the software level in order for if this bill becomes a law, then we're talking about literally changing software about how different exchanges interact with money. This seems cryptocurrency. This seems to be a little bit like if the conversation is, okay, Binance, if you want to stay legally compliant in the United States, you need to give us a backdoor or a secret button for us to block any transaction that we think might be associated with money laundering. So I don't know, mixed feelings on the type of mind that brings that thing in. I'm generally in favor of this stuff going unhindered, right? You're watching a piece of media by a crypto first company. So we want crypto to be as big and bad and powerful as it can be. So it's interesting that there's voices in Congress that are lobbying for this thing to pass, but there's also a strong anti-sentiment going on here. A Republican senator from North Carolina is already talking about striking that provision completely. So Steve and Jacob, what do you think about this idea that the government should be able to tell companies that they can or cannot accept crypto transaction X, Y, or Z because they say so?
Well, this seems like the last year's infrastructure bill, where there was a lot of commotion about the word broker and what classifies a crypto broker and all the debate surrounding that. Now, that blew up a lot last year. That was the talk of the town on Twitter. And now we're seeing this America Competes Act. Granted that it's new, I think it only came around within the past week or so, but not as many people are talking about it. And this regulatory uncertainty has been going on for years in crypto. It seems to be reaching a bit of a pinnacle point. I don't know. The IRS and the government, they want to get paid and they want their tax money, but it is impossible to get and to regulate crypto at the software level. So now they're trying to attack exchanges. I don't know what's going to come of it, but I, for one, would like some regulatory authority, because it would just allow the crypto market to grow more as a space.
Mm-hmm. Jacob, any hot takes
Yeah,
on this?
I completely agree. I kind of have 2 thoughts on that. The first is this: if this bill gets passed or this provision gets passed, this can only hurt the development of cryptocurrencies and blockchain in the United States. I think this is similar to China banning all cryptocurrency mining. You're just forcing this innovation, this development of the new internet, Web3, to go somewhere else. If you're saying, hey, Americans, you can't interact with certain blockchain or certain cryptos, you're just going to force people to either move out of the US, move their companies out of the US, or just kind of not have Americans have a smaller stake in blockchain, in cryptocurrencies. That can only hurt Americans, only hurt the United States. And the second part of that is, like you both were saying, I just don't even see how that's possible. That, I mean, obviously they could, I'm sure a few major exchanges like Coinbase or something that's centralized, or even other decentralized exchanges, may be able to block uh, customers from using it, American customers, similar to how in the United States, a lot of or Americans can't get into like ICOs because they have to be accredited investors or fill out a KYC form. But other than that, like, I just don't see how America, like the United States government, can block decentralized where there's nodes around the world. Like,
You
I just
can't, man.
don't see how
You
that can
can't.
happen.
Who,
Yeah.
who do you have to kill or extradite at that point in order to make them do
Yeah.
what you want them to do? You can't. It's not any one person. Anyway, that's kind of like a warning bell, kind of a dark cloud in terms of crypto legislation in the U.S. Stephen, talk to us about this bright sunny day we have in the form of another piece of crypto legislation about making Bitcoin into legal tender in Arizona.
Yeah, so on the flip side, on the non-negative side, in America, an Arizona senator has now introduced a bill to make Bitcoin become legal tender in Arizona. Now, is it going to pass? I don't know. No one can say. I would be on the side to say that it's probably not going to pass yet. The way that these bills normally work in America is they keep getting asked over and over again, and then eventually one of them gets enough votes to pass, and then the whole country can follow. That's happening with marijuana right now. It could happen with psilocybin, and now hopefully crypto. Third, I'm not exactly sure. What do you guys think about this? Should Bitcoin be legal tender?
It's going to be crypto before it's drugs. It's going to be crypto before it's drugs, I think. But yeah. The bottom line here, what I'm mostly taking away is that before crypto becomes any sort of legal tender in one state, let alone 50 states, it's got a long ways to go. And so the bottom line here is that the journey has begun.
Yeah.
And it's starting in Arizona of all
I mean,
places. So we have it's a state senator, right? So it's not somebody who's hanging out in Washington D.C. all the time, but still, this is the seat of power on some level. These are the people who have to make this kind of decision. So only time will tell, and it's going to take a long time. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen right away. But it'd be exciting to see where this goes.
well,
The first shot has been fired, so to speak.
it may not happen at all, though, because I mean, I think it's important to note that the U.S. Constitution does not allow individual states to create their own legal tender. You can go to the U.S. Constitution, Article S10, Article 1, Section 10,
Oh,
Clause
damn.
1, literally prohibits states from creating their own legal tender. So I don't even know how.
Devil's advocate
Yeah,
here. The state isn't creating anything.
Yeah.
It's simply saying, hey, this thing that already exists, we're going to let that work. I don't know. I'm not some constitutional scholar,
Yeah.
at least not yet.
I think in terms of legal tender, the eyes should be shifting onto what Russia is doing in Ukraine right now, because or just in Europe in general, how Russia might invade Ukraine, and Russia has immense energy reserves in their country, and they supply energy to a majority of Europe. And Russia is also looking at possibly getting into Bitcoin mining. Now, that might have the biggest ripple effect in terms of making Bitcoin become legal tender if these real major nation states end up getting involved. Right now, we're just talking about Arizona, but I agree with what your sentiment is, Dylan, that the conversation is happening right now. So it is underway.
Yeah, we'll see. Speaking of, at the international stage, crypto taking a bit of an increasingly sized role here. Jacob, talk to us about the city of Rio de Janeiro kind of making a publicity grab and saying it's going to put 1% of its treasury into crypto.
Yeah, correct. So the mayor of Rio de Janeiro, the second biggest or most populous city in Brazil, announced last Thursday, so 3-4 days ago, that he plans to allocate 1% of Rio de Janeiro's city treasury into cryptocurrencies. I'm pretty sure it's specifically Bitcoin. And yeah, so they're gonna, and alongside of that, they're also launching their own cryptocurrency called Crypto Rio. So I find that very fascinating. I think it's also funny because when kind of comparing themselves to other crypto leaders in the world, they said, "Hey, we're less like El Salvador, but we're more like Miami because we have beaches. We're a chill city." So I just thought that was kind of funny that was their comparison, is because they have beaches, they're on the coast, it's a chill city, so they're more like Miami than El Salvador.
Oh, that's fun. That's a great reason to take crypto. We have beaches.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they also actually, as well, plan to apply discounts to tax payments made with Bitcoin. So instead of a discount of 7% with their normal currency, it would actually be a
Oh, that's
discount of
fun.
10% if you pay with Bitcoin.
That's fun. That nicely illustrates the wide spectrum of how governments can interact with this stuff, all the way from if you use this, you're a criminal, all the way down to if you use this, you save money on taxes.
Good point. And this also brings in the CityCoin DAO. New York City and Miami are working with a distributed autonomous organization called CityCoins that allows the funding for the city to be maintained by the DAO. Therefore, basically, if you give money to this DAO, you can see what it's being spent on and exactly how it's helping the city. So it's a really good concept and another use case for crypto that I have not. I wouldn't have known that use case existed 2 years ago.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of themes in human life are starting to change, especially when it comes to transparency and various power structures. And what other power structure matters as much as government? So whenever you can know exactly where that money is being spent, who knows?
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's all going to take some time, but it'll be exciting to see how. Like, I think of DAOs as like a transparent political action committee. They have a large budget and a mission, but with political action committees, the steps that they take are rather invisible, not at all public facing. With a DAO, you know how much money they have and you know exactly how they're spending that money. So it's kind of a
and you get to vote on it pretty democratically.
yeah, and if you're a member of that DAO/PAC, then you get a say in what actually happens with that war chest. So this stuff is we've talked about it before. This isn't just about financial technology being good at making traders money. It's also about changing the way people interact and the way they do work in the future, especially around a shared goal. So exciting stuff. I'm extremely here for a liberal arts culture conversation beyond any finance stuff as well.
Let me just butt in and make one point about that, because this is right up your alley, Dylan. The book The Sovereign Individual predicts that after a couple decades, that private city states could end up existing to compete with nation states. And could they be ran by DAOs such as CityCoin?
Yeah,
it's just an idea to throw out there.
Be careful invoking that book. You're going to get some hate, just so you know. Be careful invoking that book. That's not everybody's favorite book.
Yeah,
I appreciate a good idea as much as anybody. I especially love this idea. We talked before on the podcast about Peter Thiel's seasteading notion, where if you don't like the laws of your country, just move into international waters and set up a floating platform. Have your own casino that runs any way you want, make whatever you want to be legal, pay no taxes. It's a little bit of a libertarian billionaire wet dream, but I still love that little thought experiment. But yeah, right on. Hey, let's remind the people what's going on here. This is a podcast called Engine Room. You are currently listening to or watching us. We are representing tokenmetrics.com as a kind of roadmap for helping you make money in crypto. If you get lost in various rabbit holes, stick with us. We are here to help you figure it all out. Subscribe, like this video. We're here 3 days a week for you, and we've got a bunch of other videos coming out on this channel all the time. Guys, any parting thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
Make Bitcoin legal tender everywhere. I pump my bags.
Right on. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you next time on the Engine Room Podcast.